her a call again, and then she just added another phone number to the 13-year-old grandson who's possibly with the daughter. Step out with this.
2412.
Veteran crisis hotline's calling in, so they have a female veteran's off her medication. She's over at the safe haven. You're checking 12, we'll check that one out.
6 Rumble, 2 point started, you shot us.
Also, still saying the stock, no? With this.
2412.
There we go. There we go. It's always awesome when I get everything set up, and then the setup, I have to like redo everything on StreamYard. It sucks too. All right. Sorry about this. Is it going to work? There we go. Good morning, everybody. Damn, that music sounds really quiet. So is it? I don't get it. It's crazy. Normally it sounds really loud, but now it's not. This is crazy. All right, this is going to be interesting. What's up, everybody? Good morning. Unfortunate news about the parade. I know we all know about it, what took place yesterday during the parade. So prayers to them. I know they're still kind of going through stuff. I mean, what is it? And then they just spoiled a plot in Canada. Some kids that were going to try and copy Columbine. They foiled that plot in Canada. You know, the government, I don't understand it. It's been like a year we've been saying this on the show. This is an epidemic, you know? This is an epidemic, and to blame it on everything other than mental health and resources and having things available. You know, we discussed on the last Incel show, part 1, about family members and doing or managing or working through, you know, similar situations and things like that, and how they would reach out. You know, they would reach out to try and get help, and they're just constantly, you know, to where some people will even go to extreme measures just to try and get the care for their children. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I don't understand why all this stuff is on the back burner to them. You know? It should be one of the most funded programs in the country when it comes to the government, because if you don't take care of the mental health today, what's going to happen tomorrow? And this is our own country. This is our future. And to just downplay it and push medication, I just don't understand. You know, we're so worried about taking care of everybody else, but when it comes to taking care of our own people, Just try, you know, ridiculous. So prayers to the family members out there. I mean, it was a parade for a Super Bowl. It's crazy. I don't even go anywhere without mine. You know what I mean? Like, because if I, you know what I'm saying? What if I was there and that was taking place? I ain't letting that happen. Shit. That's why I carry everywhere I go, because you never know what the hell's gonna happen. And if that means that I gotta sacrifice me to save somebody else, fuck it. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. We'll say what's up to everybody. Skittles, ticket number 3. I just wanted to say prayers. I don't understand it, and then they foiled a plot too up in Canada now. It's just like, geez. Golden ticket, Kelly Miller, number 4. Thank you. I appreciate that. Katrina, ticket 5. Mark and Betty, ticket 6 from the UK. It's a late night over there, right? Deborah, ticket number 19, number 9. Thank you. Look at that. Caddy number 12 with the new icon photo. Is it going to let me do it? Come on, StreamYard. StreamYard bugging too. Audrey, how you doing? Randy, ticket 13. Diana got the ticket number 1. Nice. Jackie, good morning to you. What's up, Hatsoon? How are you? Don't understand it. Christina, ticket 17. Thank you. I appreciate that. Jackie, ticket 18. YouTube, Kelly, 18. Somebody's got 19, but they don't know it. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, thanks to the fire restoration, everything's done here. I wasn't able to get to a show last night, so we're kind of pushing everything back one night. So tonight we'll be doing the Megyn Kelly, Howard Bloom, the evidence against Brian Kohberger, part 1, and then tomorrow night we'll be getting into Emma, Demetrius, Enon, JS, JD, JV, all of the other players that are involved. We're going to be having an extended show tomorrow night, talking about all of those people. So we'll be getting into that tomorrow night. We were going to get into it tonight, but I had to push it back one night because we need to start part 1 of this, and then we'll be doing part 2 of the Kim call. So if you have your notes, or if you haven't got your notes yet, go ahead and rewatch the first time WSU Kim was on the show. We had that last week. Watch that episode. We'll be sitting down, going over that on Saturday night. We'll be doing that one, that part 2. What's up, Heidi? Cheryl, ticket 21. And give me 1 second. Let me do the switcheroo, and then we're going to introduce our guest. And there's an interview from one of the friends of Elliot we'll get into today, too. Just give me 1 second. We'll be right back. What's up, Rosie? How you doing this morning? If it'll switch it. There we go. Good morning. Oh, I can't hear you. You're on mute. It's got you on mute for some reason. There we go. Yes. Good morning.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening. Yes. I always forget. How's the weather there today?
Too hot.
Is it? It's summer over there.
Yeah.
If anybody didn't know, they have summer while we have winter. So, there's I seen some of the stuff. Is there anything that you wanted to go through before we get into anything? Because I saw some of the stuff you sent me, and I read some of it, and I was like, whoa. So I didn't know if...
I'm still verifying some of it. It's up to you. I'm flexible. Whatever you want to go through. I'm gonna get more chat room stuff as well.
Yeah, I figured if you want, I'm gonna play this video from this friend. It's supposedly a childhood friend. 9 years ago though, so it's pretty old. But it's a childhood friend. But I was trying to look up interviews of anybody that knew this person, Elliot, and I couldn't find nothing except for just this one childhood friend. There's really not much. Maybe there used to be, and they took a lot of stuff off.
Maybe. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think he had a lot of friends, to be honest. I think the one that sticks out most for him was that little girl, Maddie. And other than
Hmm.
that, there's not a lot, on record.
Yeah, I'm surprised that even the roommates that he had lived with, there was nothing. I couldn't really find anything whether it was a negative experience or a positive experience. I really couldn't. I really couldn't, which was interesting to me because usually, um, there's always a few people that are, even if it is negative, there's always a few people that are wanting to talk to the news crews just to
Yeah.
get some attention.
Maybe it's
Um,
because it's long ago as well. I don't know.
I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me, but it is pretty interesting as you read some of these chat rooms and you see some of these videos. They really did worship this kid as like,
Yeah.
I thought it was just a corny tagline, but when you get into it, you really do realize that they really did look at this person as some sort of hero and some sort of they even are like, like you would watch the videos where in episode 1 of his own videos that he would take of himself, he would talk so highly of himself, about being this supreme gentleman and stuff. And these same people that look up to him call him a supreme gentleman and all of these things. And it's just like, dang, people really do worship this guy. It's crazy.
Yeah. They feel validated, I guess.
So, all right, I'm going to play this video here real quick. This is from a childhood friend. And then if there's any of that stuff you want to go into, we can go into it with that chat room stuff too.
Lucky would later go to the same middle school as me, where he would become an object of my extreme jealousy and hatred. Looking back, I can't believe I actually played with him as a friend in my father's neighborhood. What's it feel to
Correct.
see something like that now?
Yeah, when I saw that, I was just shocked. I couldn't. I literally didn't believe that was coming from him. I didn't. When I heard everything, I'm still shocked, and it's just a crazy feeling. I couldn't believe it. I still can't believe it.
Did you ever have any reason to expect or know that he hated you like that?
Oh no, not at all. From every from what I saw, I thought I thought we were pretty good friends. You know, well, yeah, he was always nice. He was always, or not nice, but he didn't say much. But we played games together, and he never got. It was nothing. He wouldn't say anything he wouldn't say anything, but he wouldn't give me the impression that we weren't on good terms.
We've learned so much now about this young man because of what he posted on YouTube and what he put on this manifesto that he did. I understand you sort of followed him or kept in touch on Facebook over the years. Was there anything ever that you saw on Facebook or on social media of his that gave you any reason to be concerned?
I haven't actually. Yeah, I didn't even. I haven't. I didn't keep in touch with him on Facebook. I saw him on my first time seeing him since middle school was on the video when they told me about it. And yeah, that's my first time hearing about it or seeing him or really hearing him talk. That's my first time hearing him talk is when I saw the video. That's my first time hearing him say more than one word answer.
ABC News exclusive tonight. You'll remember this face. Elliot Rodger, the gunman from that shooting rampage at UC Santa Barbara last month, killing 6, wounding 13 others, and the chilling videos he left behind. So many asking, were there warning signs? Tonight here, his father is speaking for the first time with Barbara Walters, who asks, did he know his son was sick?
How are you?
Every night I go to sleep. I wake up and I think of those young men and young women that have died and that were injured and were terrorized. And my son did that. My son caused so much pain and suffering for so many families.
When you wake up in the morning, what do you think?
It's like a reverse nightmare situation. When you go to sleep normally, you have a nightmare and you wake up and, oh, everything's okay.
Yeah.
Now I go to sleep, I might have a nice dream. And then I wake up and then slowly the truth of what happened dawns on me. And that is that my son was a mass murderer.
You did not think that Elliot was suicidal or certainly not homicidal.
There's no way I thought that this boy could hurt a flea. I mean, this is the most unbelievable thing, Barbara. What I don't get is we didn't see this coming at all.
Did you know that he was sick?
No. This is the American horror story, or the world's horror story, is when you have somebody who on the outside is one thing and on the inside is something completely different, and you don't see it.
And Barbara's with us here now. And Barbara, I wanted to get back to something he just said to you. He said, we didn't see this coming at all. And a lot of people at home are going to say, we saw the videos of that boy. How did they not see any warning signs?
Well, they knew their son was troubled. They even thought that he might want to take his own life. They never thought that he would want to kill others.
Yeah, this is going to frighten a lot of people. Much more tomorrow night. In the meantime, you told us you'd be back time and again with special assignments, and it's great to have you back tonight.
Man. Yeah, that kid, the friend, he was like, I couldn't even tell the dude was even upset, had no idea, but yet he hated him so bad.
Yeah, I think that friend is lucky. He just seems like such a sweet person. Shame. I mean, he keeps saying he didn't say much, so I suppose, he thinks he's communicating it, that he doesn't like him very much, but maybe he just isn't. I don't know, that poor Lucky. He seems very sweet.
Well, I mean, most of the time, if somebody's upset with you, they say it, they say it to you, you know what I mean? So when, it would be a shock to me if somebody's upset with me, writing it down or saying it to somebody else, but not to me, then it's like, well, how did I know that you were upset? You know what I mean? It's one of those. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here today too. So is there any of that chat stuff that you want to discuss? I was reading some of it and I was like, wow, it's deeper than I thought it was. It's structured,
Yes. Yeah. So I'm not sure if you want to share some of the screenshots.
Sure.
They have
It's crazy.
rules, like rules for their chat room, and the one that I noticed the most was the rules about sharing of gore images or videos. And I mean, I kind of was surprised that there's even rules for that. I would just imagine that sharing that is not okay, but there's actually parameters on how to share these kind of images in an incel chat room, which, I mean, I was quite taken aback. They've worded it in a way that I think maybe it's done legally, so, but it's still, just because something's legal doesn't necessarily mean that it's ethical. And I was very taken aback by some of the things that they have in their rules.
Yeah, me too. So this is the first. This is the introduction. Incel.is, involuntary celibate. Welcome. This is a forum for involuntary celibates, people who lack a significant other. Are you lonely and wish you had someone in your life? You're not alone. Join our forum and talk to people just like you. That's the first one. Let me see. Can I click to the next one? No, hold on. So this one, this is rules explanation, if you guys can see that. Hold on. So it says, rule explanation. Racial baiting, aka race bait, is not allowed on incel.is and is part of our existing rule against bait in the behavior section of my colleague and co-admin Master's opening post in this our rules topic section. And then it discusses the mods, legendary r/incel mod and OG incels IS site moderator Ryo set the precedent to extend the no bait rule to include no racial baiting either. He was essentially forced to do this in order to effectively combat and put a stop to the relentless BBC spammer during his days of being an active moderator. So, in the spirit of Ryo's noble strength, I have to. They almost look at you like they almost look at themselves as like some kind of mythical type status too.
Yeah. It's a little bit, I suppose it's cultish as well.
Right. Blue pill content. Okay, wait, maybe I missed something here. Let's see. In the fascination, the subject has died down enough to go back to handing out regular warnings once again that are considered a far lesser or rather gentler punishments by comparison. Blue pill content, posting tired cliches and worn out normie, and PUA grifter platitudes such as be yourself bro, man up bro, just hit the gym and learn to lift bro, work hard, get a job, and eventually a woman will come to you bro, etc., etc., are all examples of blue pill thinking that don't belong here. As while some of this advice may have worked in the long ago past eras of the 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s, and earlier, it is a vastly different world now. The times we are living in are more unforgiving, fast-moving, highly connected, and extremely alienated. It's a high-tech world now where competition for females has become so fierce via the rise of the internet and dating apps that even attractive male chads are at times having to turn to fat or ugly women to get anything at all, as now normal, regular chads are finding themselves having to compete with rich and famous or just better looking giga chads. Giga Chad. So that's another term. Giga Chad. That's like a super Chad. In general, as women, narcissism and hyper. I mean, so now they're even more angry because of the internet.
Yeah.
The
yeah.
chat.
So and they seem to be angry with people trying to give them advice now, like advice on how to get a girlfriend, you know, like stuff like go to the gym, make a lot of money, all of these things that will supposedly help. But so essentially they don't want help, they don't want advice.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because they're supreme. They're the supreme gentlemen. Why would a supreme gentleman need advice, you know, from a coach or something? And Heidi says it exactly right. People should first know and love themselves before entering a relationship, because how can you love somebody else if you don't love yourself? And that's damn true.
But what's also really important about this is that they're making, you know, comments about unattractive females, right? So
yeah, that was
that means that they have a supposed standard as well. So, if an unattractive female wanted to date them, would they? Because they seem to have an attitude towards it. So why is it okay for them to have a standard, but a woman can't not want them for whatever reason, right? So
That's a good point.
it's a dead end. It's like, yeah.
That's a good point. It's a good point because, like, and with the whole incel discussion here, you say it's involuntary, but if you're reading what you just read here, you're saying the whole species of females, but yet it's not the whole species of females. So are you really, as an incel, are you really not getting any kind of attraction, or it's just the attraction you don't feel you deserve?
That's a really good point. Yeah. So, I mean, if they have this attitude towards females that they feel aren't good enough, one has to wonder, is it all females, or is it just that, they're disgruntled that what they perceive to be beautiful women don't want to be with them? And in that case, how are they different from those women to begin with? Because those women don't want to be with them for obvious reasons, so
because they're so
it's a
supreme.
very double standard.
Yeah, so it sounds like they're mad. It sounds like they're mad that somebody else has a toy and they don't.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, if you look at, sorry.
No, go ahead. There's a delay.
Rogers, the standard that he has, I mean, he's targeting all women, right, as not wanting. But the woman that he wants is very specific. Like, he only wants women with blonde hair. Like, it's just, I mean, there's actually no difference between him and these picky women.
Yeah. So did he? I mean, just like when we did episode 1 and we were watching the videos where he was like driving by the people saying, "Yeah, those people." No, not those people. Those dudes are ugly as fuck.
Right? Yeah. Oops. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And he's driving by those girls and he's like, "Yeah, girls like that." And you hear girls screaming and they're probably like, "Nice car. Hey, what's up?" You know what I mean? And he didn't even stop.
Yeah.
It's like, why are you so, dude? You don't even get out of, like, you're not even like introducing yourself. So how do you know if you don't take a step? How do you know the ground is solid or not? You got to find out.
He definitely reached a level of resentment where he actually didn't want the attention. He just wanted to be able to complain about it. And had he got some attention, that probably would have ruined his whole video and he would have been mad about that. Yeah.
But then, but I don't know. It's just weird. It's like, at first I'm sitting there and I'm going, involuntary. Like, there's always somebody out there for somebody. There is, so then I'm like, well, maybe there's just, maybe there are people out there that just nobody, but then you see the dude, have I ever had a BMW? Fuck no. I've never had a BMW. You know what I mean? Like, the dude had a better car than I've ever had. So what are you talking about, man? Like,
no, I think he really does misunderstand what is actually important and what is attractive. I mean, if you're going to be complaining that much, doesn't matter what you have. Nobody's going to want to listen.
I never had an Armani shirt, come on. I mean, that was a nice shirt too. It needed to be ironed. You got to iron it if you're going to wear a shirt like that, You can't be going out all crinkled up. Come on. So here's more of this. It says, let me see, LGBTQ content rule. What are these? They have these weird terms like Chad.
Yeah.
Giga
Chad and Stacy, I think.
Furries.
And then Melvins. And I don't know what a furry is.
Bronies. I'm not even saying the other one. I mean, that's, what the hell? I'm not saying it. Like, that's way disrespectful. So to be a part, we also consider. Okay, so LGBTQ plus all of these other terms to be a part of the community and may update the rule further to include any more disgusting or degenerate groups that might arise in the future within it, only for the understandable purposes of keeping our website free of degrading filth as well as cultural subversion, which these movements, all heavily steeped in homosexuality, almost always seem to foment. Lastly, on this issue, for now, in addition to criticizing the LGBTQ, we still, of course, allow our users to make fun of the condition as the inspiration arises. Should
Yeah.
users discover any loopholes in our rules that should, in theory, allow those groups into our forum, said loopholes will not be honored in practice, but rather once the loopholes discovered, the rule explanations may be further updated to reflect that, to continue making the community aware of what is and is not allowed. I mean, and they go into like they hate. That's some hate shit right there.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is part of why I think that if Idaho4 does amount to a case of incel, it is entirely possible that it was still a group. Because I think that this is a community that sort of hides behind one another. And I don't know if there's necessarily, incel groups that are not hateful. I'm sure that every group has its extremes and, on either side. But, sorry. But I think that it is very possible that it is a group.
Man, yeah. This is crazy. I mean, that not only they have hate for, quote, the female species, but they also have hate to all these other groups as well. So they really, it's almost like you said a little bit ago, it's like cultish in a way. We stick to our own. We don't allow outside influence. We maintain a strict structure inside to make sure that we can continue our way of thinking no matter what. The hate is just crazy. Yeah, I want to say I love the Z Cavarici. Those were my favorites.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, it's clothing. It's clothing.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was English.
Yeah. Is that what threw you off for a second? You're like, what is Z Cavarici? No, it's clothing.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, okay. I loved it. No, it's just favorite clothing. We were talking. I didn't have a BMW. I didn't have, Armani, but I did have Z Cavarici, damn straight. Gore content, it's still allowed, but remember to only post legal gore images or videos, and always be certain to use the NSFW tag on such content when you do so. Example of legal gore. Okay, so this just goes into gore. Someone. Okay, so just more gore stuff. Blue pill content part 2. Okay, this talked about the Chads and the Giga Chads in the blue pill from earlier. The majority of the forum. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. So I just they seem to have different polls for different approaches to life, I guess. So the black poll seems to be the most extreme, which is what Elliot Rogers fit into, which is that there's no point to anything. So they say that it's like a nihilistic approach. Blue pill, I think, is about trying to improve yourself so that females will actually want you, and they seem quite resentful towards that suggestion.
Blue. How many different color of pills do they
I
got?
think there's 3. So there's a red pill.
red, blue, and black.
Yeah.
Insos. What is how? Incellos. What? Okay, hold on. Incelosphere.
That's a lot. Yeah, in
What is that?
celosphere.
What is that?
I don't know. I read about the manosphere, but I suppose that's just their online presence, right?
So,
but I'm surprised by that figure. That's a lot.
2.6 million worldwide or something. Well, there you go, Nina. She's got a BMW and Versace jeans. Bling bling. I'm not a sociopath in my privileged path. Aw, sorry. So that now this is oofy doofy. I mean, these terms, the majority of the forum community as well, the site staff, i.e. moderators and admins, have mutually agreed that the oofy doofy theory, popularized, if not entirely created by YouTube in celebrity, quote, hell by the dashboard light, is simply a repackaged version of the long detested emasculating beta bucks strategy. Not to mention that oofy doofy theory is observably not truly reflective of the current year 2022 dating market. Thus, we at incel.is reject the theory as yet another unfortunately wildly popular self-delusional blue-pilled lie. Members who advocate for or who support this theory openly shall be subject to similar level warnings or bannings as are typically already applied to promoters of prior existing and identified blue pill content. What is, I don't, this is crazy. Blue oofy doofy and what's this? YouTube and celebrity hell by the dashboard light. Is that a video?
I don't know, but there are a lot of, from what I can see, there's quite a lot of YouTube channels that are trying to, coach people. So that, I think they refer and look down a lot to blue pill content creators. So I think it might be something to do with that.
Well, there's this, but there's no videos. There's no playlist. I did a video called, so this is 10 months ago. I did a video called Cash Registers for Souls. I don't know. It's weird. So I don't know if that's, I don't see, there's no video. Something's coming up with, something's coming up with that song, but this is the only thing that I saw was Hell by the Dashboard Lights, which is this YouTube channel. And that's the only thing I've seen. Other than that, I don't see that. It says rule explanation. What it means to be an incel on incel.is so that you may join our site. Our community's unique definition of the term and word incel is not exactly the same as what you might find in the normie world or in a dictionary. Normie? For us as an incel is a male who has never had a romantic, voluntary, unpaid sexual relationship with a human female ever in his life, and no romance whatsoever in his entire life with a human female. A human what the hell does that? So this means to join up here and not be banned, you must never have had a girlfriend or wife, nor even a fling or one night stand, as that too can be based in a type of fleeting romantic love or passion. The community has also repeatedly voted that so-called escort cells, i.e., men who have paid for intercourse with prostitutes, whether on a regular basis once in a while or whenever the mood strikes, may also be considered incels and join the community, since our user database as a majority agrees that romantic pair bonding is what separates the normies and the chads, i.e., sex havers, from we incels, and not simply sex itself. What? That's a lot of rules so far, and we're not even.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't understand some of them. Do you?
I mean, they want. They're trying to. I don't understand. Okay, it seems like they're trying to isolate themselves from everything. Like, this is bad. This is bad. Even if you, I don't know, maybe I'm reading this wrong, because to me it's saying you can't, even if you paid, that is you're not considered an incel because you paid for it. It wasn't involuntary. It has to be unpaid. For you to be an incel, you have to have never had a romantic, voluntary, unpaid sexual relationship with a human female. I mean, what are they? Is there like an alien female that comes down for the incels or something? I don't understand that. I don't understand that. I mean, are you talking animals? Like, what are you talking about, bro? You know? But with I guess if you've even paid for it, you're not allowed, because just the fact that you paired with another female totally like removes you from being an incel, I guess, because you've had that experience. You basically couldn't have been romantic ever.
So nobody who's ever had the experience,
right,
is welcome. Okay.
Yeah. There's also women just like the men.
I saw that. Yeah. They have their
what are they
own
called?
femcells.
Are they incels too? All right,
Femcells.
what do they call them? Femcells. So why ain't they called like he cells or something? It's a real twisted way to pretend they are completely normal. What's up, 49 girl ticket 34? Yeah, so nothing. Because and this is what I don't understand. Like, if somebody paid for it, what's up, Christina? If somebody paid for it, wouldn't you be able to be like, hey, guess what, Jimmy? You should do this, or maybe you should try this. Like, you could like elevate and get yourself out of this pit. It's almost like you're in a pit. You don't want anybody to throw dirt in the pit so you can eventually climb out.
But they do seem to have a lot of jealousy amongst themselves, especially if you read the words of Elliot Rogers. So any friend that he might have had was kind of acceptable until some kind of a female was interested in him. And then he was, enraged. But a lot of that was jealousy. So I feel like maybe if there is some kind of an interaction with a female, whether it's paid for or not, it's still going to cause resentment in the group.
Mm,
Maybe.
yeah.
That's all I can
Yeah.
think.
So, gosh, can you imagine you're like hanging out with your incel buddies and you guys are like going to get some ice cream or something, and you're with your incel buddy group, and all of a sudden this girl looks at you a certain way, and you're like, no, 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 don't look at me, because then that you just ruined my incel,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
citizenship here, because you looked at, I can't, what the hell? So what do? Isolate themselves from any situation where somebody could even look like they're interested, because you'd almost be outed then, right? Because they would get jealous. All
Yeah,
of them would
exactly.
get jealous. Next thing you know, you're out of the group. Just
Yeah,
because
so I mean they're reaching that stage where they don't want attention. Because then they'll have nothing to, whinge about. So
minors are not excluded from the sites. That's ridiculous. Wow. That's ridiculous. Not that they shouldn't have their own chat groups. They should have their own chat groups. But man, you can't have children with fucking adults in that damn room, especially when they're talking about, it's mainly about sexuality, you know?
yeah, I mean
That's what
there's
it's
an age
about.
where they shouldn't be exposed to, especially in a hateful way. I mean, they're still developing into who they are, and it's just, yeah.
Well, I don't know, that's not right. No, I'm just saying, like, you go to because incels ain't going to the bowling alley. You know what I mean? They're not going to go to midnight bowling with the black lights and shit. They're not going to do it. I'm saying, so what would an incel group do? Well, maybe they would go get ice cream, So I'm just saying, ice cream shop, they go get ice cream. A girl looks over there, winks at one of the incel guys, and all of a sudden the rest of the incel guys see it and they're like, Jimmy, get the fuck away from us, Go.
Yeah, I think because they interact online a lot, they can kind of, I mean, how many of them maybe secretly
I'm just saying,
I mean,
they're not out in public like that, right? No?
well, what just ice cream, what do they do other than drive down the street and make videos and
I don't
shout out?
know. What do you do? Like, yeah, right? Like, Jimmy got banned. Yeah, some girl winked at him getting ice cream, and Jimmy got banned from the group. Yeah.
Oh gosh,
He's
Jimmy
no
doesn't
more,
mind secretly.
yeah, he's no
Okay.
longer an incel. He's no longer. What he describes as bullying and unaccepted by his peers' disconnection from his family, who does not see what he is going through at school, that turns our incels created. Interesting. Because that's what it, when we watch the father there, and even when I was talking about, in the intro, about the epidemic that's going on and how the government needs to treat it like an epidemic, not just pass it off like they've been doing because of the cost of it. Maybe don't make the big deals with big pharma and you don't have these fucking problems in the first place. You know what I'm saying? Because doctors are quick to throw out pills left and right that shit they don't even have studies on. Next thing you know, 10 years later, you see a commercial for a class action lawsuit for a drug that you took just to quit having diarrhea. You know what I mean? And next thing you know, it's causing something else 10 years later because the FDA doesn't do their fucking shit. So it's like, you started this problem because you wanted the fucking money. You need to fix the problem. Getting banned, Jimmy. It's all Jimmy. Created by their environment, perspective, or is a mental. Yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be, because think about it. Like the dude, Elliot Rogers, he's, like, let's be real. When you're that age, he was, 20 something? 22?
22. Yeah.
Right? Let's be real. You got a BMW at 22? I'm sorry. you're getting fucking invitations. You know what I'm saying? Like, so to say that you uh that you are like totally shut off from all of that outside, it's got to be almost like a social disorder where you remove yourself from people because you don't feel comfortable, and then because of that mental disorder, then it doesn't reflect to the normie society as normal, so then therefore you become an outcast. When the dad started taking him, I think, what did he say, age 5 or 6, he started taking him to a
I think it was 8.
psychiatrist or something.
Yeah. I think it was 8, but it was thereabouts. It was very young.
His father is cousin to Reese Witherspoon. Yeah, that's what I heard. He said he did stuff with the Hunger Games and some other stuff. What's up, Nina? Yeah, it's rules are rules. Well, making up. Oh wow, no. Yeah, that's what like. I don't even think that's what I'm saying. I don't think they were bowl. And I was trying to think of like a situation where maybe they would hang out, and that'd be to go get ice cream. You know,
Plausible.
wink, 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 wink. You're banned, Jimmy. You're banned. So this, it's yeah. So basically, you can't have sexual relations. Period. Because it says once a person is able, if ever, to obtain a woman's love and affection and voluntary sexual intercourse from her, that man has ascended, meaning that they have leveled up beyond incel status and have now become a normie or a Chad. Contrary to the public, i.e., normies, typically views on incels, what we as a majority want is not sex first and foremost, but rather to be chosen by a woman as her object of love and desire, and only then be offered sex from her. This is part of the reason why the community tolerates and even approves of escort cells, i.e., men who have paid for sexual relations with prostitutes, and it is because any man of legal age, financial means, and physical ability can engage in this behavior, but not every man out there can obtain something that is arguably more special and rewarding, which is a woman's love. Now, I find it interesting because it brings me back to the interview with the dad that we were watching, okay? And the interview with the dad, Barbara Walters asked him, or he had made or if he had like offered to go to Vegas or something, and his dad was like serious, like, yeah, I told him, to go to Vegas and pay for a prostitute or whatever, right? And to me, I'm like sitting there going, why in the fuck would a dad tell their kid that? Period anyway, but still. But this is interesting though, because remember, he said that his son had sent him links to these chat groups that he was talking in. And in these chat groups, it talks a lot about paid sexual relations with prostitutes. And it makes me wonder, is this where the dad got the damn idea from in the first place? Is because he saw the rules? I mean, we're not even going into this discussions. This is something you would see when you first get into this group that you got a link to, would be the rules. Is this where his dad was like, I'll pay for you? Like, what?
Well, I don't know. I mean, and that might be why he declined. He
Yeah,
didn't want
because he
to.
wouldn't be part of it.
But while I was listening to you read that, I was just wondering, when they're speaking about voluntarily obtaining a woman's love,
Mhm.
involuntarily, are they condoning like violent sexual assault here? Because I didn't. They're not condoning it. Are they promoting
No.
it? Is that not? What do they mean? Is it
Yeah,
just financial?
that
Because I
is
mean, I don't
interesting.
think that would be allowed in group rules if there was an undertone of that. I think that would be.
Right. That is a good question because even I'm not seeing that in these words, but at the same
Yeah, but
time, you
it's
do
not
see
excluded.
voluntary, 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 voluntary. So I do see what you mean
I
also.
really would hope not.
Right. I wonder if there's any of those conversations that are taking place. You would almost have to get into the chat boards to see what I don't know. I mean, I can I can go through more. I'm not sure if there's is this just the beginning rules? I don't know if they address the GTQ freaking stuff with a whole. I mean, there's a plenty of hate there. Uh, so who knows? I mean, it is filled with voluntary, voluntary, voluntary.
Yeah.
That you wouldn't be getting a woman's love that way. So none of that would apply
I
to you not being an incel if that was
really hope
done.
not.
So this is what's crazy is now when we talk about the incel, I don't see it's crazy because a lot of the players that people consider for the Idaho4 crime, whether it's JV, JD, JS, even Enon. You know what I'm saying? Enon, he already admitted he walked up into a party before uninvited. He already admitted that he introduced himself and offered wine and talked about how attractive they were. So I don't think he would be considered an incel after reading this. So when it comes to all these different people that people consider, even Brian Koberger, I don't understand how any of them could be considered an incel after
No,
reading more about this incel theory or the
I don't see
incel.
that either.
And so, but when it comes to the crime scene, right? It always was weird because it was like the incel, it's sexual, but nothing sexual happened. I can see
Well,
because
yeah,
they're not going to, right?
yeah. I mean, I'm not sure. I suppose. I mean, there's obviously some very extreme groups, and then some less so. So I don't even know what are the parameters of that. I mean, like I said, I want to believe that there's a group of incels who aren't violent; they're just upset. I think that there's different variations. So I don't know what would bring them to a stage like Elliot Roger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm thinking it does. It does seem like a incel group. More than one. And it always was weird to me, like the brutality of the crime, but then if it was somebody that wasn't part of the inner circle, well then why wasn't there any kind of assaults, right? Which it was weird. It was like, that's weird. There's no assaults or any, um, it was just the crime itself. And then, so now you read this and it's like, of course, like they're going to have the hate for those, they're going to have the hate for that kind of atmosphere. They're going to have the hate for that kind of attractiveness. And they're not going to have the desire to do any kind of assault, because if you read the incel rules, that's voluntary on their terms, because they would be the ones that are performing that act on them, of their own accord. So that is voluntary. That doesn't go with the rules of the incel. And so maybe automatically those kind of assaults aren't even allowed
Yeah.
in the group, because it is considered voluntary then, even though it's not voluntary of the woman, it's still voluntary of
So
you.
I think in terms of that, I think it's probably important to say that these rules don't necessarily say that something like that is or isn't okay. But just by the way that it's actually structured, logically speaking, it isn't excluded. But that doesn't make it something that they necessarily want to be doing. But if you actually look at how it's worded, it's not necessarily something that they have excluded from these rules. That's not to say that it's something they do.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, the more that I'm thinking about it, that would be voluntary on their part, and so I don't think.
Yeah.
Because even if you're paying for it, right? You're not even committing that crime. Even if you're paying for it, you're still voluntarily doing it according to these rules. Now, there's different groups out there. We're just going off of this group right here and their rules. Some other group could have where it is included, where you could pay for it and take it or whatever. But yeah, it's the escort sells men who have paid is because, and they have the financial, but it's not about that. It's not about engaging in any of that. It's about obtaining something that is arguably more special and rewarding, which is a woman's love. So anything that is not included in that is not. So I do not think it includes that. I don't know. Now maybe there's like hell, just because this one doesn't mean that others aren't.
Yeah.
Let me see here 1 second. And let me go to something else here. Okay. Now this is let me see here. This is something that you sent me before we even did our first one. And this is a former member that speaks out about it. This is I thought it was a friend. On the last episode I said there was 2 friends that we had a video of. It was just one friend which we played, and I thought this video was a friend, but it's not a friend. This is a former member.
Soon after posting this video to YouTube, Elliot Rodger would go on a shooting spree in the California city of Santa Barbara, killing 6 and injuring many others.
Shots fired.
The attack, a form of revenge by an angry young man, one who was hellbent on blaming women for his own personal loneliness.
The girls are not sexually attracted to me. There's a major problem with that. A major problem. That's a problem that I intend to rectify.
More and more male hatred against women is...
That's a good question. I didn't see anything about that, Rosie. Did you? Anything about the rules in reference to same-sex partners? Because yeah, they do say human females, species, and all that. So that is a good question.
Yeah, I mean, these are just some of the rules, and some of them are amendments. So I think somewhere they might have something more in depth, like a constitution or something. But these are just a few snippets of some of the things that you just get when you open the site once, and not necessarily join.
Right. Yeah, because they gotta trust you too. You know, they don't open things up. Cherry, if you missed the first episode, you gotta watch the first one. We watched his I don't know if they're the videos that are off YouTube now, or it was something where all of these videos of him recording himself, even the last video that he made, and uploaded it to YouTube. It's pretty crazy how the dude talks, and then you hear his laugh and how his voice changes, you know, when he is talking about what he's going to do and what he wants to do and how he's going to get people, all this crazy ass shit.
Rising up through the hidden
It's
crevices
creepy.
of online forums and entering real life.
Yes.
Allegedly the inspiration behind the mass attacks in Santa Barbara, Toronto, and Tallahassee, Florida. And experts say one of the chief incubators of this violent misogyny is a subculture of men and some women who call themselves incels or involuntary celibates. They mainly gather in online forums, finding common ground in their shared loneliness, hatred of themselves, and anger toward the opposite sex.
Women are just evil. You know what I'm saying? Women are evil, women are cruel, women are mean.
The group name that you've probably never heard of before, incels or involuntary celibate.
Now, a new BBC documentary, Inside the Secret World of Incels, presents a never-before-seen look at this community online and off.
I think it's fair to say a lot of people have not heard of the term incels and have not heard about the incel community. I think it's certainly something that more people should know about because there is a risk of violence from this community.
When the incel movement first began online in the late 90s, it was seen by many as a comforting resource, a place to belong for those who had no sense of belonging.
Whenever I see couples walking about, I'm happy for them, but at the same time, I'm also just like, oh man, I am so alone. It hurts a little bit.
Forums can definitely be, very supportive. Having an online community to fall back on or to go to is definitely a source of comfort.
It's a space that Jack Peterson sought out as a struggling teenager.
I think what attracts men to the incel communities is just feeling like they have no other place to go. If they're rejected by women, if they're rejected by even men, the incel community is a place for them to congregate and actually find people to talk to for once, rather than just stay in isolation.
It was a world where he could freely post this video.
No matter what I do, no matter where I go, nobody values my contributions, nobody respects me.
Peterson eventually became a moderator for one of the incel forums. He says violent talk and threats were not tolerated.
If someone crossed a line into threatening what seems like real violence, they'll be banned from the website. I know on numerous occasions there would be communication with the FBI to make sure that nothing actually crosses into.
Whoa! So there would be that. I mean, they would have casual conversations here and there, just to make sure that none of the violent talk was actually being followed through with. Holy shit. I can imagine the hate. And then you're isolating yourself from everything else. So all you're going to do is just keep, stewing. That's
He became
crazy.
a moderator for one of the incel forums. He says violent talk and threats were not tolerated.
If someone crossed a line into threatening what seems like real violence, they'll be banned from the website. I know on numerous occasions there would be communication with the FBI to make sure that nothing actually crosses into reality, that it just stays a post on an image board or on a website.
Wow.
But some say Rogers' attack in 2014 marked a shift from a community that lived online to one that for some erupted into violence in reality.
Before Elliot Rodger, there were a number of online misogynistic communities operating. But Elliot Rodger really flips the switch from a community that is angry online, operating within the digital space, to a community that has the potential to carry out real acts of violence.
His blind rage targeting strangers, like promising student Katie Cooper. Her parents left devastated.
He attempted to get into one of the sorority houses with a tremendous amount of ammunition. Instead, out of frustration, he got in his car, drove around the corner, and saw my daughter. My daughter paid the price. So we like to believe that that wrong place, wrong time scenario helped save 50, 60 girls' lives. So, you know, kind of a silver lining. And, you know, when you're in our position, you look for these, you know, wherever you can.
Just last year, 2 alleged copycats. In April in Toronto, a van mowed down pedestrians, killing 10 people. And then in November, a shooting at a Tallahassee yoga studio would leave 2 people dead. Both of the attackers allegedly posted online that they sympathized with Rodger. Nightline is choosing not to show you more of Rodger's videos or the memes that now circulate praising him, but it's clear he's gained an infamy within these forums. Shortly after the Toronto attack, Peterson decided to leave the community altogether, announcing his departure on YouTube.
I asked the owner of Incels.me to permanently ban my account.
I left after the Toronto attack because I didn't want to be a part of a community that supports violence, even if it's in a joking way.
But Peterson says that most incels are not violent, and that within the incel community itself, Elliot Rodger isn't taken seriously.
There's a lot of memes about him. People think he's perceived as some sort of a hero figure, but I think he's more kind of just made fun of.
Adam Jessel.
Oh, that's interesting. So he says that Elliot Rodgers, this is from 4 years ago, says that Elliot Rodgers, they laugh at him and they have memes about him.
But he did still leave the group.
Right. That's weird. Because I've seen a whole bunch of other, you know, where he's like this, this mythical figure, the supreme general.
You know, we don't necessarily know what they're always talking about, but like he's saying, I think we also need to acknowledge that there might be good people, you know, with ethics. It's just that it's a mixed community. So somebody like him who actually decided to leave. But I think he is still defending the community by saying that Elliot Rodger was not necessarily their incel king. But he did still leave to not be associated. So he kind of has to decide which one.
And he says in a minute before that, he discusses about being a moderator and how even in a joking way, violence is not acceptable, you know, from a moderator. But then at the same time, you quit and you leave and you ask to be banned because you were told not to moderate that stuff anymore, because you just said I was a moderator. Even joking about violence was not allowed. But then you leave because of that.
I think what he's maybe getting at is that even if they're not promoting violence, they might still be desensitizing it in the community just because of the fact that it is something that's mentioned. So it's something that they could get used to. And if you have somebody who is unstable, you don't know what they're going to do with that. They're not going to react in the same way that somebody who is stable, you know. So maybe it's just not an association that he wants. The intentions aren't violence. It's still desensitizing.
Yeah, and this is like, I don't know, it doesn't even seem to me like incels even have the confidence to approach a female. So how do they even, I don't know, maybe they got jealous of other people getting attention and they didn't have the confidence to
Yeah,
get the attention too. Um,
from seeing it, I
right.
suppose. Or they
So
expect females to approach them,
yeah.
maybe.
So I don't see how anybody in the group that we were going through, I don't see how they would even be able to approach a female to get turned down, because there's no confidence there. It seems to me, yeah, like that's what a creeper does. They use a bottle of wine to get their foot in the door. I don't, you know what I mean? That's what a creeper does. Oh shit. They're not gonna like this video game controller. What else do I got? Half-eaten pizza? No. Oh yeah, this wine. That's a good idea. I don't even see them having the confidence to do that. I don't even see them having the confidence. It's one thing to get rejected by a woman, but you got to have the confidence to get rejected by a woman, and that seems to be
Yeah,
what the conversation has been about these episodes, is not having the confidence to go up to women.
Well,
A
I think
lot.
maybe some of them are saying that they've made attempts, or I don't know, they're just too scared because they know what the answer is already, is the impression that some of them are giving.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I don't know. I'm going to. I got to get one of those rooms, right? If wine was full of. Right. Like, what female, and I even tell this to the females that would consider taking an open bottle of any kind of substance, don't do it. Okay? Don't do
no,
it.
don't do that.
And for a dude to think that a woman would even accept that, yo, you ain't even thinking clearly, man, because what I don't understand the rejection has. They might have made something. It's you look at Enon though. When he's talking like, is the incel gonna ask you to come pet his cat? When you're looking at Enon, to me, Enon, I don't see this hardcore incel. I see somebody that gets rejected. But when you're looking at Enon, the whole, do you want to pet my cat? That is invitation. The wine is an invitation. There's all of these invitations from Enon. You
Yeah.
even heard him on Truth and Transparency. He doesn't seem like he's secluded or has that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe awkward, but I mean,
Yeah, awkward. Yeah, awkward. A goofball. Yes, but
yeah,
I could see him being out, and I could see him approaching females, because I mean, think about it. When you're asking a cop if they want to come pet your cat, you already are pretty damn sure she's probably gonna say no. And for you to ask that doesn't spell incel to me, because you would already be like going, no, she's not gonna agree to this. I'm not even gonna ask.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna ask.
Yes, they would have this "don't even try" kind of attitude.
Not, let me throw a dart and see if it pops a balloon. That's confidence. It is.
Well,
it's confidence when you're throwing a dart and trying to see if you can pop a balloon.
It's better to try.
What's up, Mr. Myers? How are you doing? Ticket 43. Thank you. Appreciate that. We're talking about incel theory today, part 2. We'll be having a part 3 coming up too. Men absolutely show up with half. Oh my gosh. Don't do it, ladies. Don't do it. Don't do it. Right? Right. I mean, it's just Enon, he doesn't even though he's oddball, he's a goofball, creepy as shit. Because let's be real, like if that was my friend, I'd be like, bro, what the fuck are you thinking, man? Like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Like, dude,
But
like
harmless.
come up with something else. You know what I mean? Get a 20 ounce out of the fridge. I mean, a something like a half bottle open of wine. Like what?
Yeah.
So I don't know. At 30, I might have been rude. At 40, I don't think I would be mean, but I'd tell him, "Oh my God, I thought you were serious. You left over what?" You know, like I'd be like, "No, thank you, garbage." You're not gonna be a dick to the dude, right? But you're not gonna do what he said. Fuck yeah! After he was like, "Hey, you want a half open bottle of wine?" Fuck yeah! Ain't no girl saying fuck yeah. No. No, she's probably like, thank you. And then
Maybe
as soon as she turned
sarcastically.
it, boom, in the garbage. She ain't touching that shit.
No.
Oh, I got you. He had to downplay Elliot, take certain levels. Right, it takes certain levels of confidence to even ask. Like, could I go up to a female? I don't have a cat, but if I did, could I go up to a female and say, "Hey, do you want to pet my cat?" Fuck no. No, I couldn't even do that. Shit. Want to pet my just please don't. Right? Right? Distraction. Distraction. All right. This is some more from the incel community. Then I got a Dr. G video that's going to talk about the mental health and personality of Elliot Rogers. And then there's Tres Genko, the incel who wanted to top Elliot Roger. We have a video on that for you guys as well. And I still have probably another 9 or 10 videos of stuff that I would like to get through at some point. So this isn't going to be part 2 and we're done. We're going to keep continuing this conversation as well. So this is back to the former member of the incel community that's speaking out about the dangerous misogyny.
Not violent, and that within the incel community itself, Elliot Roger isn't taken seriously.
There's a lot of memes about him. People think he's perceived as some sort of a hero figure, but I think he's more kind of just made fun of.
Adam Jessel, the executive producer of Inside the Secret World of Incels, has been studying the incel community for years.
In terms of the number of people that are at risk of actually carrying out violence against women or carrying out some kind of physical harassment of women, that is a very small number. In the case of violence and mass murder, you only really need one person to move from online hatred to real-world violence.
Although not the norm, his film does seem to uncover disturbing instances of simmering anger toward women manifesting in real-world actions.
I'm the catfish man. I catfish females. I'm a legend in the community. I'm a hero.
Catfish Man, whose full face is never shown, humiliates women on camera as a way to seek revenge.
Ew, he's so fat. Look at that.
The women, who he says believe they're there to meet a model from online for a date, are instead met with verbal harassment and intimidation.
Got catfish. It's kind of like a victory for the incel community, basically. So this is basically like my retribution in a sense. All those girls that treated me like.
Catfish Man's behavior was, very alarming and very distressing.
Wow.
On the one hand, we wanted to show people that this stuff is going on, this stuff is out there. On the other hand, we were conscious that we were giving airtime to this guy.
The Anti-Defamation League is one organization that's been tracking incel communities and identified them as an emerging domestic
Yeah, but not offering wine and wanting to kick it.
terror threat.
It operates in some of the same ways that we see other extremist movements operate.
They say law enforcement and community cooperation is key to monitoring violent content.
Tips have always been helpful for law enforcement when somebody might be sort of straying. The combination of law enforcement, tech industry responsibility, and everyday people knowing that they have a stake in this, hopefully we can keep this down.
As for Katie's parents, they hope her senseless death teaches our society to be more vigilant.
Our daughter died because some individual couldn't cope. Just couldn't cope. That's why she's dead.
Wow.
And his parents missed it. Anyone who was trying to help him missed it. His friends missed it. Society missed it. And my daughter paid the price. That's the bottom line. If you want to stop this from happening to other parents and to other innocent children, you need to get to the individual. You need to find a way to reach them and help them and realize that suicide isn't the way out. Going out with a bang so you can make the news isn't the way out.
Hi, everyone.
Going out with a bang. I bet there's got to be a lot of freaking hate in those groups too. And yeah, I'd like to see more about that chat group too. Man, especially like with the dude harassing females, having a dating app profile that the dude that looks like a model or something, and then meeting these women and bashing them, and it's a win for the incel community. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Can be a boyfriend too? What? Involuntary celibate can be a boyfriend? What does that mean? What's up, AG? What does that mean? Can be a boyfriend too. So it's not necessarily a woman's love, it's just intercourse. Because they talk about a woman's love, you know, they want it natural and a woman to choose her. Oh, trust me, we'll be doing part 3, maybe even part 4. Yeah, that's fine. We'll be doing more parts. But if you're just a boyfriend, aren't you receiving love from a female even if you don't have the intercourse? So is it about intercourse then? Is that
I don't think so.
right? I
it's
thought you
about
couldn't.
attention. Yeah.
Right, romantic relationships. So, let me see. Involuntary celibate is a member of an online subculture of people who define themselves as unable to get a romantic relationship or sexual partner despite desiring one. Yeah. So basically, nobody's choosing you. It's yeah, but it says romantic. So isn't it romantic? I don't know. I guess there's different ways you could take it. No.
Yeah, I suppose. You still have that title, right, of somebody's boyfriend. You've been accepted as taking that role. That's like
love.
acceptance. I mean,
let me see here. Let me go to this real quick. It says this is out of their group. What's up, Beth? Old hats, how you doing? So it says right here for us. Okay, so it says, so this is this community. Our community's unique definition of the term and word incel is not exactly the same as what you might find in the normie world or in a dictionary. So basically, they're saying whatever somebody else is labeling an incel that isn't an incel in the normie world or dictionary, this is the reason, according to this group. Never had a romantic, voluntary.
it's kind of coming back to that thing where they're just feeling misunderstood by the world as well. So they're saying that even the way the world defines their group is not necessarily what they see themselves as. So
right. And according to this, well, no, according to, it says it right here, according to this group, you must have never had a girlfriend or a wife or even a fling, or even a one-night stand. You must never have had a girlfriend, according to this group. So, according to this group, a girlfriend isn't even acceptable. So really, it's based on whatever group. So we could go to another group and they could say that girlfriends are cool, and it's referring to this. But as of everything that we read, they're claiming. Now, it'd be interesting to see another, like, kind of see another group and see if they have
I
like
struggle.
similar feelings.
I struggle to find groups. This one, I just clicked on a link on Wikipedia, and the others they've kind of been disabled. So it was not that easy to find a group, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I can imagine with the types of discussions, they're probably very selective. I mean, hell, even if you join a group, a chat group on a case chat, a lot of the times there's like a period where they have to like vet you or double check, things like that, or you go through some kind of acceptance process
Yeah.
to the group. So I can imagine how hard it would be to find these, because then the more that they discuss it, the more it's exposed, and they want to keep that out. They want to keep that out. So this is Dr. G, Dr. Todd Grande, and he's going to be discussing the mental health and personality of Elliot Rodger.
Oh, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question asks if I can analyze the mental health and personality factors that may be at work in the case of Elliot Rodger. Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I'll put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. So here I'll look at the background of Elliot Rodger. I'll move to the timeline of the crime, and then I'll talk about the mental health and personality factors. Elliot Rodger was born on July 24, 1991 in London, England. He had one younger sister. He was biracial. His mother was Chinese and his father English. When he was 5 years old, his family moved to Los Angeles, California. His parents divorced when he was 7. They had joint custody of Rodger and his sister. That same year, Rodger was described as shy and received therapy for lisp, which was corrected after several sessions. Rodger had mental health difficulties early on. He was treated by several mental health professionals starting when he was 8 years old. I'll cover more of that in the mental health and personality factors section. Rodger did not play any individual or team sports or participate in any extracurricular activities. He earned poor grades in school, but his grades improved significantly during the last 3 years of high school. He graduated from high school in 2009 and attended college for a short time. In 2011, not long before he dropped out of college, he moved to Isla Vista. That same year, he took karate lessons. He said that the ability to fight better is power and boosts confidence. In December of 2012, Rodger bought a Glock 34 semi-automatic pistol. It is believed this was his first overt act in furtherance of planning his attack. He would eventually purchase 2 Sig Sauer 226 semi-automatic pistols as well. Rodger had several contacts with law enforcement prior to the attack, none of which resulted in a criminal history. On February 6, 2013, he called the police and said that the owner of a white BMW dented the door of his vehicle. On July 20, 2013, Rodger consumed alcohol and went to a party, where he climbed a 10-foot ledge and sat down. Other people climbed onto the ledge and started talking with one another, but they were ignoring Rodger. Rodger started insulting the individuals, and they reciprocated. The situation escalated to the point where Rodger started pushing them. His main target was the females. Unable to push anyone over the ledge, Rodger ended up being pushed and fell off the ledge, fracturing his left ankle. He still managed to walk away from the party, but he remembered that he left his sunglasses behind. He returned to what he thought was the correct house, but Roger was intoxicated and had selected a completely different house. The occupants of that house called him names and physically assaulted him. Roger reported the activity to the police, but minimized his role as the aggressor. January 15, 2014, Roger called the police because he suspected his roommate had stolen $22 worth of candles from him. The roommate accused Roger of moving his property around the apartment, but after the candles were found under the roommate's bed, the roommate was arrested. The case was dismissed due to insufficient evidence. On April 30, 2014, a staff member at a crisis line called the police looking for a welfare check. The staff member had received a call from Roger's mother, who was worried about the content of a video Roger had published on YouTube. The police interviewed Roger at his home, but they found him to be shy, timid, and polite, and they took no action. May 6, 2014, Roger was involved in an incident where he blocked another car with his BMW and entered into a verbal altercation with the driver, and later the driver's girlfriend when she confronted Roger. This brings us to May 23, 2014. Roger, now 22 years old, stabs 3 men at his apartment in Isla Vista. 2 of those men were his roommates, including the one who took the candles. At 7:38 p.m., Roger buys a triple vanilla latte from a Starbucks not far from his home. At 9:17 p.m., Roger uploads a video to YouTube called Retribution. A minute later, he emails a 137-page manifesto to various people. He then drove to the Alpha Phi sorority house, where he shot 2 women and wounded another. He entered his vehicle and started driving around, shooting into a coffee house and a deli, killing a man in the deli. He continued his rampage by shooting at people and hitting people with his vehicle. He exchanged gunfire with the police on 2 occasions. He was shot in the hip during the second exchange. He crashed his BMW at an intersection. The police would find Roger dead in that vehicle from a self-inflicted gunshot wound at 9:35 p.m. In addition to the 6 homicides, Roger injured 14 people, 7 from gunfire and 7 from blunt trauma. He had hit them with his vehicle. Now moving to the mental health and personality factors. Roger had a long history of mental health difficulties. At age 7, Roger would make good eye contact with people when speaking, but he wouldn't really talk unless somebody asked him a direct question. He preferred to write information down on paper rather than talking. He would hold his ears when there was a loud noise. He demonstrated repetitive behaviors like tapping his feet and his leg and repeating certain words. In 2007, Roger was diagnosed with pervasive developmental disorder not otherwise specified. This classification was available in the DSM-4 and was a type of autistic disorder. The equivalent disorder in the DSM-5 would be autism spectrum disorder. It is also believed that Roger was depressed and anxious. He took various medications to treat those conditions. Let's take a look at some of Roger's behavioral characteristics. It was said that he was possessive of his property. He also appeared to be legalistic, like that whole thing with the candles, and obsessing over dents in his car. He was a very picky eater. He didn't like anything gooey. When he was young, he did not act out when he was angry. Rather, he would tense his entire body and clench his teeth. In this regard, there weren't many warning signs that Roger would become a killer. He didn't get in fights, hurt animals, set fires, or otherwise damage property. He often mentioned...
That's one thing that I thought was interesting too when it comes to the incel is there's not hurting the animals and shit like that. You know, they don't want violence unless it's with the female species and how to get back at them. Nothing
True,
about
yeah.
animals.
It seems very targeted early on.
Mm-hmm. And I want to stay clear. Part of one thing. Oh shit! But uh-oh. No, why would Coffin Daffer be in here? Because of the incel stuff. There's so many. Yeah, it was about the animals. That's one thing. I was like, yeah, there's because
Yeah,
you
it's
hear
interesting.
about this animal, with SKs and all this other stuff. But then, because they're usually starting off as children, and it starts with animals and things like that.
Yeah.
Here, no, it's just focused on females, and not.
Yeah.
Where do what I'm curious is where's what's the outlet for all this anger that they have? Like, what's the outlet?
I think venting to each other.
But what if they didn't? What if you didn't have the internet to vent? Then there's where's the outlet for all that built up anger?
I was watching a video with some dating coach or something, and he was trying to explain why some men will turn to this ideology of what they call the black pill. And one of the reasons he mentioned was that he feels that some of the people who head towards this ideology actually have too much time on their hands and they don't have enough responsibility. So if you look at other groups and maybe in other countries and stuff like that, there's not necessarily a lot of people sitting on the internet with not a lot to do, and that is how they, according to him, that is kind of how they find each other. And then they make one comment and then people start liking it and they start feeling really validated. But if you look to another group with a lot of responsibilities, maybe even another age group, they don't have time to sit on the internet and complain. So the instances of incelness is less in those groups. So I thought that was a really interesting point that he was making, because he was making like a compilation of what encourages the black pill ideology. And that one I thought was interesting, like sitting online all day, that probably isn't healthy either. And that kind of builds up the frustration maybe, because you're kind of egging each other on, right? So maybe they don't start off as angry as they end up, but they kind of start sharing that feeling. And that can be really dangerous because it's like a collective anger.
Yeah, it keeps you in a pool, and it just gets more and more and more and more and more and more. And maybe one day that you're not feeling it, well, you're in a pool of a whole group of them, and they're one day you ain't feeling it, but you're in that group, and then you just get back to feeling it, even if you didn't for a moment. I mean, it seems like it would be just like a cesspool of hate. You're just swimming in a freaking pool of hatred, and you enjoy it. And maybe you enjoy it because you are an incel, you are alone, you have nothing other to do than play video games and watch movies and clean. So you probably go to work and you can't wait to get home to get on your incel chat forum because yesterday my life was boring and I just watched movies, but today I can't wait to get home because I get to hang around with people that feel the same way that I do.
Yeah, but I mean, people want a sense of belonging, right? Everybody wants to belong somewhere. So as soon as you find people who are saying what you feel you've been thinking, then you kind of start aligning with that more, right? And it just pushes you towards them. It's belonging. Yeah.
Keeps you on a path with all the isolation and everywhere else. It just, I'm surprised they're not considered like hate. Because really, I mean, that's what it's. The more that we're getting into it, the more it seems it's a hatred towards the female species, and it's a group, and
lots of resentment.
It's a hate group to me, as far as I'm concerned. Stated modern day incels approach comes from online, which gives them a false sense of confidence, but ultimately it's how they deal with rejection. Yeah.
Spot on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's called a community. Wink, wink.
mentioned how he envied other people because they were living a better life than he was. He was specifically frustrated with romantic couples. He would take cell phone videos of couples in his community who were bothering him and avoid restaurants where a lot of couples would be dining. I'm going to guess he didn't have any special affection for Valentine's Day. He stayed in shape, he ate healthy and exercised. He also wore designer clothing and expensive sunglasses. He wanted to appear wealthy. Roger believed that entry-level jobs were beneath him. He didn't want to get involved in any type of menial work. For a time when he was a teenager, he did work for a friend doing construction, although much of his money came from an allowance his father gave him and funds from other family members. He specifically bought a BMW because he thought it would help him find a girlfriend, when all they really do is help you find your tools in a parts store or a mechanic. He played a lot of video games, especially World of Warcraft and Halo. His favorite movies were Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. His favorite television show was Game of Thrones. I found this interesting because in Game of Thrones, there was this group called the Night's Watch. They were celibate, always wore black, it was always snowing at the wall that they guarded, and they were cut off from society. It seemed like a depressing job assignment. Also in that series, there were many examples of violence-based problem solving. Based on Roger's behavior, here is a potential personality profile. Mid-range to above average openness to experience. He was somewhat creative, he did write a manifesto, and he may have experienced emotions intensely. We see mid-range conscientiousness. He seemed to like order, but at the same time, he was impulsive, like getting in arguments. We see low extroversion. He had few positive emotions, was shy, and analytical. We see low agreeableness. He did not trust people, was not modest, and usually people who want to kill all of humankind don't qualify as altruistic. His level of neuroticism was high. He was angry, depressed, anxious, emotionally reactive, and had difficulty resisting temptation. In addition to the autism spectrum disorder, depression, and anxiety, Roger appeared to have some symptoms of obsessive-compulsive personality, as indicated by the perfectionism, being picky with food, and being possessive of property. He also appeared to have characteristics of vulnerable narcissism, like resentfulness, shame, envy, and hypersensitivity to criticism. One could argue that, other than the manipulation symptom, which isn't really clear from the reports we have on Roger, his behavior did seem to align with the remaining symptoms associated with narcissistic personality disorder. Grandiosity, fantasy, envy, entitlement, arrogance, believing oneself to be special, requiring excessive admiration, and having a lack of empathy. A major theme of both his retribution video and his manifesto is this idea that he was rejected by women and extremely lonely. Looking specifically at his video, we see a few of his beliefs and statements that stand out. Women passed over him and selected other men who were obnoxious. Roger believed himself to be superior to those men. He called himself the supreme gentleman. He was denied sexual relationships with women. He felt this denial was criminal and society needed to pay for it. He was going to give those offenders exactly what they deserved. He talked about how people made him suffer and how now he was going to make them suffer. He had an intense hatred of everybody, but especially of women and men who were with women. He believed that committing homicide would prove that he was an alpha male and it would make him a god. He said that if he had the power, he would annihilate everyone on the planet. The content of his video indicates that he was extremely angry and despondent about rejection, but his mannerisms seem unusual based on the content of his narrative. He had this weird, forced laugh, and he was deliberate and spoke at a consistent rate throughout the video. He was incredibly calm for somebody who was about to commit multiple homicides. Combining this video with other information, there's this idea that Roger was genuinely confused as to why women were not interested in him. He really didn't understand why they found him unattractive and why they found other men attractive. He believed he was doing everything that women wanted. He had a BMW, nice clothes, $300 sunglasses. I think what happened here with Roger is that he looked at the world and thought that everybody had the same thoughts and feelings that he had. He believed everyone was narcissistic. It didn't make sense to him that there wasn't some materialistic formula he could use to connect with women. It was almost like mathematics to him. He would do certain things and women would be attracted to him. He didn't need any depth or sensitivity. His inability to see things from the perspective of others kept him trapped in a world of loneliness and rejection. Although his social
Yeah, and that's what it does. It keeps them trapped. Like I was saying in the beginning, like you're not gonna allow other people that even had that experience, even if it was paid, you're not gonna allow them people in the group because of their experience. It's like you don't want people to toss dirt in a pit so you can eventually climb out. You keep
Yeah, they're
yourself
facilitating
isolated.
what upsets them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you don't want to. You almost so when it goes to him like making those videos about the girls on the side of the road that wouldn't give him the time of day and he didn't even stop, if I bet you they were like saying something to him as he was driving by and he didn't even stop, so that's when it's like you don't even maybe you just enjoy the idea that you can blame it on something instead of taking accountability.
Yeah, so he's formed his whole identity around being an incel. So he needs to
Yeah.
actually kind of keep that going, right? He needs to reinforce the resentment, and his sense of belonging and identity is going to fall away if somebody is actually interested in him. So that would just mess up the
Yeah,
whole thing for him as well.
right. Right. Yeah, like so it's almost like and then the fact that they allow children in there, it's almost like they want you to stay that way. Like if you feel this way, keep staying that way, we're not going to allow any kind of uh, uh, chatter from the outside to kind of, because I'm sure people, even if you are paying for it, you could give some experience to the person that doesn't have any experience and then give them more confidence to try and have some experience. It just seems like like I said, it's just a pool that
circular
just
thing. Yeah.
just continues to swirl in its own toxicity. Mentally, I still don't know. I want to know about the book his mom bought him. Yeah, prayers for Kansas City too. I saw they came out with an update. And I might do like a little show on that today. But we'll keep it separate from all this. So this is it's Dr. G if you want to check it out. I'm just going to let him finish up a little bit here and then we'll get into this
social awkwardness didn't help him either. This is a pretty good example of how a lack of insight can lead to real problems. What I find interesting is that Roger had been treated by a number of mental health professionals who addressed his social awkwardness on many occasions. I think that Roger simply couldn't reach a point where he could see how others viewed him. His vulnerable narcissism allowed the anger to stay inside him for a long time, building up like a pressure cooker. It was probably the decision to end his own life that opened up the possibility of revenge. This allowed him to carry out the attack. If he was going to destroy himself because of what he believed others did, he was going to make them pay a price in that process. Elliot Rodger has become a hero to what is referred to as the Incel community. Incel stands for involuntarily celibate. It's frightening that his thought pattern would connect with so many people. Those are my thoughts on Elliot Rodger. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always...
Okay. So there's that one. And yeah, it just seems like they just want to keep continuing in their own pool of hatred. Let me see here. So there's something else I wanted to show you. This is that Tres Genko, the incel who wanted to top Elliot Rodger. And if you're not subbed to Rosie, I dropped the link here throughout the show. If you're not subbed to her, please sub to it. And we got a lot more other stuff to go to, so we'll be doing a part 3 and maybe even a part 4, I'd imagine, because there's a lot of stuff when it comes to this, especially this chat group. I'd like to really get more into these chats and see exactly what their stances are on different things when it comes to all this. Now, this is Dire Trip, and this is about the incel that wanted to top Elliot Rodger. And I'll share the channel here.
A young man named Trey Jenko, a member of a number of, let's say, problematic communities online, wanted to rack up a very large body count of thousands of people when he completed an attack he was planning. The subject of this video is a 21-year-old man named Trey Jenko. He was living in Highland County in Hillsboro, Ohio, a small town of only about 6,500 people, about an hour east of Cincinnati. He had a pretty small presence on mainstream social media, having a Facebook, a Twitter, and an Instagram account. He didn't post all that much, though, and his accounts had very few submissions despite being up for several years. Based on his bio across these sites, he studied at Ohio University, likely focusing on computer science, as a good chunk of his posts revolve around it. He had a lot of posts discussing computers and their link to brain functions, likely inspired by Elon Musk's interest in the same topic. He did seem to follow Elon's Twitter somewhat closely. Although appearing pretty normal on the surface, both looking and posting like an average guy, Jenko identified himself as an incel and was very active on several forums related to the movement. If you've been with my channel for a while, you'll likely remember incels from the Cole Carini video and all of its updates. Or if you haven't been living under a rock, you probably knew what they were anyway. But just in case you don't know, incel is short for
What the heck? What? I'm just curious who is this? Hold on one second. He seems kind of weird here. Like to deep dive.
I think this channel has an Elliot Rodgers video as well.
Really?
I just remember his voice, and it is a pretty good video. I just can't remember the name, but that definitely sounds like him.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to check this out. I just subscribed. I came across this when I got some of that stuff put together for episode 1. And I hadn't checked it out yet. It's pretty, it's good presentation. Creepy as shit.
Yeah.
Voluntary celibate, meaning that they aren't able to get laid even if they try. This could be for any number of reasons, really. However, they see women as deserving the blame for this and aim their hatred towards them as a consequence. Often developing varying levels of hatred, anywhere from a bit of disdain to a sadistic desire to wipe out as many of them as possible. Incels were thrust into the mainstream media after becoming the focus of many crimes over the past few years, namely the killing spree of Elliot Rodger, an incel who, after stabbing his 3 roommates, went on a shooting spree in California in 2014, mainly targeting women. Some incels out there idolize him, referring to him as the supreme gentleman and even wish to be like him. Although this has been memed into the ground, there are people out there who are serious about it. Amy Yondorio, an expert on incels, which apparently is a thing, even discussed the group on mainstream news outlets.
The ideology is really rooted in the belief that women have too much power in the sexual marketplace and that their rejection of men, or namely incels, is both life-altering or life-ruining, which leads to a lot of vitriolic hate towards women.
After many incel-related crimes over the past few years, many social media companies such as Facebook and Reddit have developed a very low level of tolerance for any incel-related communities. Reddit usually just straight up bans the communities altogether without much warning, even going as far as banning subreddits that are simply making fun of them or showcasing their posts. Trey Jenko had profiles and posted somewhat regularly on a fairly popular incel site from at least July 2019 to March 2020.
That's the website that we were going off of, the Incel IS. Yeah.
His posts were fairly concerning from the start, but quickly grew darker and darker over the months. Jenko was indeed one of those types who idolized Elliot Rodger, even going as far as imitating some of Elliot's more...
He must have only had one Armani shirt, because I just see the same Armani shirt he keeps wearing over and over and over and over.
It's his favorite shirt.
I mean, hey, damn, that'd be like me wearing the same hoodie every show, you know? Eventually, you gotta throw it in the washing machine.
Embarrassing, childish acts that became famous over time, like an incident involving orange juice, for example. The Supreme Gentleman himself had once sprayed a group of students with orange juice, so Jenko was eager to imitate the act himself.
Oh gosh.
In one video, he detailed how the whole incident went down, saying that he loaded up a water gun with some orange juice and sprayed some foids and couples. Foid is incel lingo, being short for femoid, which is a bastardization of female. And there's a lot of lingo that goes with it. It's kind of a rabbit hole, so
Yeah.
Let's move on.
The lingo is...
I put some orange juice in a water gun. I was planning to spray some foids and couples like Elliot Rodger did, he wrote. I drove up to them, saying hi, and they didn't even look up. They just went, uh-huh. So they get sprayed in the fucking face. I suggest it to all incels. Extremely empowering action.
What do you expect somebody to do? You pull up in a car and you're like, hey, yeah? What do you... You get sprayed? Like, come on. No wonder. What the hell, man? This is... I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
Following this empowering action, Elliot Rodger went on to kill 14 people. Jenko wanted to do the same, but he didn't really like those numbers. He wanted to aim higher, to go bigger. Much bigger. Try hundreds of times bigger.
Whoa, hundreds.
During his stint on the Incel forums between January and August of 2019, he bought up a bunch of items that he would use in his potential Elliot Rodger type attack. He bought a hoodie with the word revenge in big bold letters, along with some cargo pants, tactical gloves, and a skull face mask to complete the edgelord look. In addition, he bought a Bowie knife, 2 Glock 17 magazines, and a holster clip to conceal carry said Glock. In August of that year, he began writing his manifesto. He decided to call it A Hideous Symphony, and in it said that he would utilize his hatred to carry out a complete slaughter motivated by jealousy and revenge. Given the past several years, the federal government is very aware of the incel movement, including the FBI, of course. While many cases had been filed against incels on the more local state...
Whoa, okay. Is that why the fucking FBI was in Moscow before the crime took place?
I mean...
Whoa. Because just like the other guy said that he was a moderator, he said they would have conversations with the FBI to make sure that none of them... Is that why they were fucking out there before the crime took place in Moscow? Is that why they had a team out there? Was because maybe there was an incel group that was discussing things like it was gonna be... Because if it was a group and they were getting together to... If that's a possibility of an incel group being a group that could have committed this crime in Moscow, if the FBI is well aware, well, maybe that's why the FBI was there before the crime took place. Then I don't know. That's crazy.
It would be. I mean, it would kind of imply that they knew something was going to happen. I'm not sure about that.
Because if they're talking, if the possibility is that they were meeting up, an incel group was meeting up or discussing, or a couple people from say the person that was there, they didn't even have to be there. Kaylee was followed by millions.
Yeah.
So they didn't even have to, it could have been somebody that's close by that was discussing it on a group, an incel group. A couple other people are like, hey, fuck this, we'll join you. Right? It's a win for the incel community. And with the FBI being so aware, just like moderator said, constant conversations, maybe that's why they were there, because there was something that was being planned. They just didn't fucking know when it was going to happen or what. But so then you have to wonder, okay, was Brian a part of a group? And the other people in the group, that's why maybe BF claims she saw multiple people walking by. But then what? Because I have to go back to, like, then why wouldn't the FBI, if they were there prior because of an incel group having a conversation, well then wouldn't they, if the tip came from the FBI about BK, with the IGG, well then maybe how would they not know that there's other people? So they would have to see. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense, because then you would think that there'd be more people than just Koberger.
Yeah, because especially if it does relate to that specific apartment block, then they would know that was central to the group, which they, I mean, it doesn't seem that they've been looking at anybody there that we know of. So I think that would have been their first target if they had any prior knowledge of a group, because they would at least know the central meeting point, which is that address or somewhere nearby.
Something. Yeah, that's right, Steve. What's up, Ticket 58? Yeah, the FBI is the MPD said that they had handed it off to the FBI because the FBI had somebody that was experienced in that area of expertise. Co-defendant number 2, there's some darkness. Yeah, it is scary. Conversations, labels are bad. People need to report that they were not knowing where they maybe thought the game. What if someone answered? Yeah, I don't know. It's just weird because you hear about them knowing about this. Well, then if Coffindorfer's so gung-ho about incel from day one, well then wouldn't she know about them being in all these different chat groups, and then they would be able to notice something.
I'm sure they would. I mean, I'm sure they would know.
They would have to.
Yeah, they would.
They would have to, especially with how they're already knees deep in with these website companies to be able to monitor these kind of things. And if they're monitoring it, there's a lot of violent conversations taking place. Otherwise there wouldn't be a reason to monitor it, because they're not taking over the world. So they're not taking over the world, so they don't need to monitor it that way. But yeah, well, I don't know. It just this guy now, he says FBI's always in there too.
State level, they would often file some extra federal charges just to get that sentence up. They really wanted to make sure they weren't getting off easy. Because of that, the FBI would start building onto these cases on the federal level, adding charges like threatening interstate communication. Django spent more than a full year planning out how his attack would go down. He wrote down that he planned on having a kill count of over 3,000 people, hoping to carry it out on the anniversary of Elliot Rodger's attack years prior. He even mulled around the idea of joining the military in order to get a skill set that could help him carry out such a large-scale attack. He wrote of his attack online from time to time, calling death the ultimate equalizer and expressing his desire for revenge.
The ultimate
The day he wrote
equalizer.
his manifesto, he began making some Google searches that would certainly come back to bite him in the ass later, and searched up some local sororities as well. As he wrote, he got more and more fired up. May 23rd, 2020, 290 days, he wrote. M16 optimal, covert or mil-spec. We'll get arms training in BCT, Georgia. Kill count needs to be huge. 3,000? Aim big then, he said.
Whoa.
I would hope these words resonate in a sweet familiarity to fellow incels, either cognizant of their situation or not, he continued. I am already set to go into the US Army. This training will be for the attainment of one reality, the death of what I have been deprived most, but also cherish and fantasize at the opportunity of having but have been neglected of. Women. God, that was kind of hard to read. As the document continued, Jenko's willingness to kill became more and more apparent. I will slaughter out of hatred, jealousy, and revenge, he said. I will take away the power of life that they withhold from me by showing that there is more than just happiness and fulfillment. There is all-encompassing death, the great equalizer that will bear all of us into its seductively calm velvet of silence and serenity. God, this shit is a mouthful.
Right, the words.
He was
that they
heavily
use.
researching Elliot Rodger and how to modify guns for illustrated guides on how to build assault weapons and what the difference between full auto and semi-automatic is. He also started searching up more legally dubious search terms, such as how to make homemade flashbang. Later that year, he actually began Army basic training at Fort Benning, Georgia. He did it all to help him learn how to carry out his plan. He was in the program for 4 months before he was finally discharged for poor performance and bad conduct. Already failing in his plan, he was forced to return home to Ohio in early January. Upon doing so, he started on a new manifesto-type document on his computer, one which he would call Isolated. If you're reading this, I've done something horrible, he wrote. Somehow you've come across the writings of a deluded and homicidal, not an easy task, and for that I congratulate you for your curiosity and willingness to delve into such a dark topic.
Whoa.
At the end of the document, he signed it as, your hopeful friend and murderer. He also, again, made some problematic Google searches, including, how to plan a shooting crime, and when does preparing for a crime become an attempt? Not exactly subtle, Jenko. He also began performing surveillance and scoping out the campus of Ohio University. His activity slowed down a little bit for a while, but by March 11th, he was back to his odd search terms. He was searching up police scanner codes for both the Columbus, Ohio police and for the university police. Then, one day later, on March 12th of 2020, just one day after the pandemic was declared in the United States and things started getting crazy, the sheriff's office in Highland County, Ohio got a phone call late in the afternoon. A woman on the phone gave out her address, a local one, and exclaimed that a man living at the location had locked himself in his bedroom with a gun. She heard him cock the weapon and began to worry that he'd end up ending both of their lives. The woman is said to have been Jenko's mother, who had grown more and more concerned over his behavior over the last couple of years. She said that in the previous months, Jenko had grabbed a rifle and had gotten somewhat erratic and violent with her. Officers, after evacuating her from the home, handed her a megaphone and asked that she convince Jenko to come out with his hands up. He did and was taken into custody. Just a few minutes later, the police were speaking to Jenko, 20 years old at the time. He told them that he only had one gun, a rifle that was in his car, no others. It seemed a bit odd as the whole reason they came out was due to him holding a handgun in his room, not a rifle in his car. They searched the car, finding an AR-15 with what they thought was a bump stock, an attachment that allows a semi-automatic weapon to fire more quickly. Not only that, they found a stash of body armor, some loaded magazines, and several boxes of ammunition throughout the car. The woman gave them some more information, including the fact that she found a handgun in his room just a few days prior, despite him claiming not to own one. She gave the police permission to search the room, and they found a Luger semi-automatic pistol with the manufacturer's marks and the serial number removed. Janko got notably very nervous and suspicious once they found the handgun. He shut up and demanded an attorney immediately upon the revelation. But the woman wasn't done yet. She also informed the police about the concerning writings that Janko had been coming up with. She had apparently been snooping and found them one day. She firmly believed that he had a real intention to hurt people, seeing his violent outbursts firsthand. The police, after searching through his electronics, quickly found the plans for his attack. They believed that Ohio State University was the likely target location. Trey Janko was arrested just 2 months before his attack was planned to take place. Months later, June 2020, in the first session in court after a pandemic-related halt of activity, the Highland County grand jury indicted Trey Janko on his threats of terror. The case went to a prosecutor named Collins, who was responsible for the felony prosecution in the county. It was said that Janko, quote, did threaten to commit or threaten to cause to be committed a specified offense with purpose to intimidate or coerce a civilian population. It was a third-degree felony, one that was punishable by up to 18 months in jail. Janko was then convicted for his threats, including his specific threats to murder women, a couple of months later in October of 2020. He ended up only getting a sentence of 17 months, with credit for the 224 days that he had already served in jail. Then shortly after, in January of 2021, he was allowed to slowly start transitioning out of jail, ending up in a halfway house.
So I can see that would be a warning sign to the other groups. If it was a group that committed that crime, I could see that being a warning sign to those groups. You better keep your conversations in private if you're going to discuss doing that kind of bodily harm that far, because it'll get you what got this guy in trouble when he initially started searching. When is it too far? When does it go to an attempt? So maybe that's why they didn't know. They knew something was going to happen. They just didn't know when or where. Because of this is right before.
Yeah, early signs.
Everything took.
Collins had wanted to charge Janko with some sort of hate crime due to his specific focus on his hatred of women. It wasn't an option, though, as the standards for hate crimes only covered race, religion, and ethnicity. But on the federal level, the scope was a little higher, including gender, gender identity, and sexual orientation, actual or perceived. A federal case would allow the charges against Janko to more accurately reflect his motivations in the case, they thought. Because of this, the feds would spend the next several months building up their indictment against Janko. This included more closely monitoring his online activity and looking into his past online activity, which wasn't a good look. Within the next 6 months, Janko had applied to the Columbus County Community College. It was unclear whether or not he was still planning some sort of attack or whether he saw this college as a potential target in the future. The college itself did eventually reach out to the National Enquirer and confirmed that, although Janko had applied, he had not actually registered or taken any classes. Collins, although disappointed that he was going back to school after his previous plans, acknowledged that she couldn't do anything more with the power she had. He had already been given just 1 month less than the maximum sentence, and there was nothing to be done that could prevent him from going back to school. Seemingly, Janko's online activity started to normalize after this point. It seemed he may have wanted to abandon his old ideology when he captioned a photo with, "I need to learn how to move the fuck on." It's unknown what specifically this referred to, whether it was related to the incel ideology, hatred, regrets due to his arrest, or something else entirely. By May 1st, he was acting pretty normally, arguing about computer science on Twitter. A few days later, he was seeming even a bit more positive, talking about working out, saying, "Finally got to work out in a gym. It was so awesome, love all you guys and girls and hope you're doing good. Also, remind me to not always be doing something with my hands in the photos, lol." In what would become his final post on Facebook, foreshadowing, he shared a meme on July 16th. It's not the mistake that matters, it's how you deal with it, what you learn from it, and how you apply that lesson to your life. He even mentioned some success with talking to women, at least not on Tinder. Could it have been that he really learned his lesson and was ready to move on from the past, to better himself, to leave all that garbage behind? We may never know. Just a few days later, on July 21st, the FBI rained down on his halfway house in Ross County, Ohio, and placed him under arrest. He was charged with one count of attempting to commit a hate crime and on another of illegally possessing a machine gun. By the time they arrested him, the local case against him had wrapped up entirely and he was nearly back to a normal life. However, the FBI wasn't ready to forgive and forget just yet. They really emphasized the fact that Jenko wasn't just some poor young guy. He had planned to carry out mass murder and had already bought the equipment to do so, and he admired another mass murderer who had done the same thing just a few years prior. He had even written an entire manifesto, which more or less served as his last words, and had planned a date and everything. This wasn't just some guy blowing smoke on the internet. This was something real. Something that was very likely close to happening when he got caught. Because his charge of attempting to commit a hate crime included the intention to kill, it is punishable by up to life in prison. The count of illegally possessing a machine gun could be punishable by up to a further 10 years in prison itself. As of the writing of this video, Jenko is being held at the Butler County Jail near Cincinnati. His ultimate fate is still unknown, but it's pretty likely he won't be getting off
Ticket
easy.
62.
Stick with the channel if you want to see updates.
Man, that's crazy. So he ended up getting close. He was planning stuff. Thank you for hopping in, Sandra. He was planning stuff, and it ended up getting foiled, and he ended up getting busted. Thank God.
Yeah.
Man, they probably got to be watching like crazy. What's going on out there? I mean, geez, it sounds like, it sounds like there's a lot of hate involved. It sounds like there's a lot of hate. Yeah, they're like school shooters. It's a lot deeper than I thought it was. Oh,
I think my signal's dropping. Okay.
yeah. I did see. It's like, no, it's all good. It's kind of getting choppy. Let me see here. Yeah, it's like and it's weird. It's like they just want to exist in that bubble, and it doesn't make sense.
It does seem to be a university setting. That seems to be coming up quite a lot.
Yeah, because that's when they think that all this stuff is supposed to come to them.
They have expectations, and it doesn't really work.
It doesn't work out that way. This right here, and we'll get to reading into this in another episode. This is the Twisted World story of Elliot Rodger by Elliot Rodger, where it kind of goes through. He discusses everything and like breaks it down in categories. Part 1, age 0 to 5. It's 141 pages, y'all. I'll drop
very
that.
Detailed.
Yeah, I'll drop that in the everyone chat. Again, when the show's done, I dropped it last week. If you didn't catch it, I'll drop it again in the everyone chat. And then I want to say thank you to Rosie for sending that to me. Thank you to Kelly for sending this to me, and I'll drop this in the everyone chat. And this is from the website that we were reading from. Okay, the rules and everything that we were reading from. This is the website. This is the document, I should say, of the website. It says true or false incels, an analysis of the incel.is forum by Zachary Hines. And so we'll read that in the next episode. And it's going to be talking about the actual group that we talked about before, But what I'd like to do before we read this, sorry, my internet's going all over the place too. So if I sound like I'm in a tunnel or something, that's the internet. But I would like to, before we read this in the next episode, I would like to discuss more of that forum first. So maybe in part 3, we can have the conversation with the forum. And then after we get into more discussion about the forum and what the forum's about and different things with the forum, this specific forum, then we'll go ahead and read the analysis from this gentleman as well. So if any of you do have any information or any screenshots that you'd like to send from this specific, I don't want to do one group and then get clips from another one and this and that when we're going to be talking about this specific forum. So if it's from the incels.is, then please send it. Otherwise we can go into that other stuff at a different time in the future. I want to stick to this forum because that's what we've been in, and I want to stick to it when it comes to what he's saying, because what he's saying about this particular forum might not match up to another forum that we might be discussing. So I want to keep it on task there. And then we'll have some other videos and stuff. Like I said, I got plenty more videos for us to check out in the future when it comes to this. So is there anything else you'd like to go over with anything? I'm going to go ahead and we'll have part 3. We'll get. I'd like to do it like maybe once a week, where maybe we could have the same day or something each week, where we get together and hang out and discuss this. Because not only after we get done discussing this incel conversation, I would like to. You were talking a lot about the Crumbly. The shooting with the Crumblies, and then the dad's going to be having the trial soon. And so I would kind of like to transition the incel conversation, and then we can go into the Crumbly stuff because there's some similarities and things like that when it comes to both of the situations. So I think it'd be a good transition too. So other than that, we'll go ahead and end this part 2, and we'll get together and schedule something for part 3, and we'll put something out there. And I'm going to hop back on, and you're more than welcome if you'd like to come back, Rosie. I'm going to end this. I'm going to come back on, and we're going to talk some of this Kansas City parade stuff for a little bit before tonight's show. So
it's getting a little late for me, but thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. And yeah, we'll get together for an episode 3, and we'll keep discussing that. So again, if any of you have any information on the incels.is forum, go ahead and send it to me, and we'll get into that on the next episode. Thank you so much, Rosie, for hanging out again. I appreciate it. It's so nice doing this. Yes. Thank you. And we'll see you again for episode 3, and I'll see you guys here in a few. We'll be talking the Kansas City parade stuff. Thank you all. Appreciate you. And if I don't see you in a little bit, I'll hopefully see you this evening. We'll be discussing the Megyn Kelly and Howard Bloom conversation that they had about Howard Bloom's the evidence against Brian Kohberger. Thank you all so much. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Appreciate you.
Bye, everyone.
response. Okay. Try that one more time, puppy.